motor cooling issue on NASA's monster new rocket for profound space investigation constrained the organization to cancel the supporters' eagerly awaited send-off debut early Monday, August 29. NASA had for the most part powered its most memorable Space Launch System, SLS, mega rocket to send off the Artemis 1 moon mission on Monday when send-off regulators couldn't chill one of the four fundamental motors to the temperatures expected to deal with its supercool fuel. The issue slowed down and intends to send off the SLS rocket and its uncrewed Orion shuttle on an aggressive 42-day dry run around the moon. Takeoff was planned for 8:33 a.m. EDT, 1233 GMT. Cooling the SLS rocket's motors before streaming cryogenic fluid hydrogen and fluid oxygen through them is an expected step before the rocket can send off, NASA authorities said. While 3 of the motors finished that assessment, engine number 3 didn't, notwithstanding investigating endeavors. Send-off regulators condition the motors by expanding strain on the center stage tanks to drain a portion of the cryogenic force to the motors to get them to the legitimate temperature reached to begin them, NASA authorities said in an explanation. Motor 3 isn't as expected being adapted through the drain interaction, and designers are investigating. Each of the 4 of these motors flew on NASA's Space Transport Program of reusable vehicles. As per NASA Representative Darrell Nail, the motor molding was not something that the group had the option to check during the wet dress practice process that closed in June. This is the sort of thing they needed to test during wet dress 4 however couldn't, Nail said. So this was the primary chance so that the group might see this live in real life. It's an especially precarious issue, in any event, going in to get that temperature dialed in, as per engineers. The engine number 3 molding issue sprung up as NASA managed a progression of errors during the commencement, including a fluid hydrogen release from the get-go in the filling system and a potential break in a piece of center supporter known as the inner tank rib, which associates the SLS's monster fluid hydrogen and fluid oxygen tanks. The tanks can hold a joined 730,000 gallons, 3.3 million liters, of charge. The spines are association joints that capability like a crease on a shirt, is fastened at the top and lower part of the inner tank so the 2 tanks can be connected to it, NASA said in the update. NASA engineers observed that the break was in the protecting froth on the spine, not in the rocket's metal design. That ice that framed is the air that is being chilled by the tank that gets caught within a break in the froth however not the real tank, Nail said. Nail added that the NASA workforce had seen comparable breaks in the froth when it was involved in space transport before its retirement in 2011. The engine number 3 issues and the dreaded break followed worries about a fluid hydrogen spill in the rocket. The break during the powering system seemed like one that happened during an SLS filling test recently, Nail noted. Yet, NASA authorities rushed to pass judgment. Albeit a comparative issue was recognized in a prior wet dress practice, it may not be a similar reason, NASA authorities wrote in an ensuing update. NASA halted and restarted the progression of fluid hydrogen into the tank trying to confirm the break and, surprisingly, continued with filling the 322-foot tall, 98 meters, rocket's upper stage while engineers figured out the problem. Indeed, even before energizing the SLS rocket, NASA confronted difficulties during Monday's send-off commencement. Seaward tempests and lightning postponed powering of the SLS rocket by almost 60 minutes, compelling send-off regulators to attempt to get up to speed for lost time. With NASA incapable to send off today, the organization could go after one of somewhere around 2 backup days on which to fly Artemis 1 on its main goal to the moon. Assuming that the office settles the engine number 3 issue, it could attempt to send it off again Friday, September 2nd, or September 5th, assuming the rain clouds blow over. On the off chance that NASA can't send off by September 5th, its next send-off attempt would almost certainly be in October, mission administrators have said. Send-off open doors are restricted by the phase of the moon and lighting conditions upon re-emergence, among different contemplations. The earliest open door, contingent upon what occurs with this motor drain, would be September 2nd, Nail said. Be that as it may, we will anticipate an assurance of what the arrangement is to proceed. Artemis 1 will send an uncrewed Orion container to the lunar circle and back, on a mission that will require a month and a half from takeoff to splashdown. It will be the principal trip for the long-postponed SLS and the second for Orion, which made a short outing to the Earth circle back in 2014. Artemis 1 will likewise be the primary mission for NASA's Artemis program, which means to lay out a long-haul, supportable human presence close to the Moon. If all works out positively for Artemis 1, NASA will be obvious to fire preparing for Artemis 2, which will send space travelers on an excursion around the Moon. NASA is focusing on 2024 for the Artemis 2 takeoff and 2025 or 2026 for Artemis 3, which will land space travelers on the Moon, interestingly since the last Apollo mission in 1972. Before we go, here are a few fun facts you probably didn't know about the Artemis 1 Moon mission. The Space Launch System, SLS, mega rocket will send an Orion shuttle into profound space on a pivotal trial, everything being equal, to ensure they are prepared to convey space explorers. NASA intends to test all that as far as possible to prepare for the Artemis 2 RAN mission around the Moon and the Artemis 3 landing mission. Ultimately, the organization trusts its Artemis program will assist with developing frameworks for investigating Mars. Artemis 1 should accomplish a few aggressive goals to get its targets finished. Here is a portion of the wild things that the Moon mission intends to achieve on an uncrewed test. When Orion gets into space, the SLS interim cryogenic propulsion stage will give the space apparatus an urgent moon push before Orion flies all alone. The translunar infusion will send Orion on an excursion 280,000 miles, 450,000 kilometers, away from Earth. Furnishing all works out positively for framework checks, Orion will then be entrusted with sinking into a circle that will bring it only 62 miles, 100 kilometers, over the Moon's surface at the way's absolute bottom. Then Orion will utilize the Moon to move to a more profound spot than any human-evaluated space apparatus previously, venturing around 40,000 miles, 64,000 kilometers, from the Moon. Orion will fly farther than the three space travelers of Apollo 13, who flew a marginally changed direction around the Moon in 1970 and subsequently, swung into more profound space than the other Apollo missions. The space explorers were managing an injured rocket and needed to fire their motors a few times to return to a way for a protected Earth appearance. Contingent upon when it dispatches, Orion will be in space for somewhere close to 39 and 42 days. For instance, dispatches on August 29 or September 5 would bring about a 42-day mission, yet a September 2 takeoff would start a 39-day flight. The thing that matters is because of orbital elements, as the Earth and Moon are continually moving concerning one another. NASA is bringing the space apparatus into space this long to come to a meaningful conclusion. The organization needs to test its shuttle as far as possible to ensure it is exceptionally prepared for people, to the degree where authorities said it would be go to push to disappointments that wouldn't be okay with a human ready. We are attempting to purchase down risk for manned flight, so we're willing to face more challenge on an uncrewed practice run, NASA's Mike Serafin, Artemis 1 mission chief, told columnists presently before the send-off the window. He said this outlook would give NASA an incline forward second to be prepared for people the following time. SLS is the most remarkable rocket at any point assembled and has never left Earth's gravity. The center stage is more than 200 feet, 61 meters, tall and has pinnacles north of two sponsors. That stage will utilize 730,000 gallons, 2.76 million liters, of a supercooled fluid hydrogen and fluid oxygen to control the motors. Those motors, coincidentally, came from NASA's Space Transport program that resigned in 2011. The rocket has experienced a progression of tests, including a multi-day wet dress practice in June 2022 that saw the rocket powered and brought more than halfway through a recreated commencement. NASA expressed that notwithstanding a hydrogen release and other specialized issues in that test, the rocket did what was expected to get it insured for flight. The rest, Authorities said they could address in the overhang, the vehicle assembly building, in front of Sendoff. Amazon's Alexa is one of the travelers on board the Orion shuttle. The menial helper is renowned on Earth for its capacity to control different individual gadgets, going from telephones to speakers to the Internet of Things gadgets. Artemis 1 will help with the moon mission in an innovation showing called Callisto. Callisto, which likewise includes Cisco's Webex video conferencing programming, will exhibit man-made brainpower, voice innovation and a tablet-based video show in discussion with Orion producer Lockheed Martin. Callisto will exhibit a first-of-its-sort innovation that could be utilized in the future to empower space explorers to be more confident as they investigate profound space, Lisa Callahan, VP and Senior Supervisor of Business Common Space for Lockheed Martin, said in an explanation when the tech was first examined in January 2022. While people have been involved in sun-based power in space previously, it has been within the comfortable limits of the Earth circle utilizing the International Space Station. The Apollo moon space travelers, working during the 1960s and 1970s, involved energy units as their essential power source. Orion will change this dynamic by utilizing sunlight-based power near the moon. A help module, given by the European Space Agency, ESA, has in order to give oxygen, water and capacity to the Orion space apparatus. This will be all given by power changed over from any energy that 3 sun-based clusters gather from our sun. How much power? It's genuinely significant. Every one of the 4 wings is made of 3 boards that give sufficient power to control 2 common European families, giving 120 volts to the PCs, tests and other equipment, ESA says of the power supply. Artemis 1 will proceed with a well-established custom of NASA to highlight Peanuts' funny cartoon characters ready. The adorable beagle Snoopy will include as a cuddly toy, utilized as the zero-gravity pointer on board Orion. For moon missions, Snoopy is best recognized as the name of the lunar module that Apollo 10 utilized for landing practice. On Orion, Snoopy will be wearing a comparative orange NASA jumpsuit as the future Artemis space explorers, as per the office. Silver Snoopy pins, an honor given to high-performing NASA representatives for ages, will likewise be ready. Then, at that point, there is likewise a recognition for Peanuts maker Charles M. Schulz, who kicked the bucket in 2000 at age 77, his last unique strip was distributed the following day. A pen nib from Charles M. Schulz's Peanuts studio will make the journey on Artemis I, enclosed by a space-themed funny cartoon as a feature of an assortment of keepsakes chosen by NASA to fly on board the Orion space apparatus, NASA said, in an extended explanation investigating every one of the relations between the organization and Peanuts throughout the long term. In another well-established space custom, NASA welcomed space fans to put their names locally available on the Orion shuttle. The names were submitted through an official site and permitted conventional people to submit sections that were subsequently stacked onto a glimmer drive and put away ready for the vessel. Those entries, numbering almost 3.4 million, were upgraded by a bunch of 30,000 individuals who are credited with making Orion's main goal conceivable. Those names were put onto engraved computer chips to offer thanks to the devoted workers who have contributed their time and work to the flight, NASA said. The primary classes of patrons included delegates from NASA, ESA, industry and providers, going from mission activities to different flight programs, as indicated by the organization. Artemis 1 will likewise convey a bunch of 10 CubeSats that will send on different missions, concentrating on the Sun, the Moon and, surprisingly, close Earth space rocks. CubeSats are somewhat little sorts of rockets that are beginning to move out into the planetary group following quite a while of administration at Earth for perception, media communications and different purposes. The majority of the little space apparatus will be committed to lunar investigation, yet a couple has various missions. An exceptionally particular one is NEA Scout, which will rather burn through 2 years on an excursion to an objective space rock. Fueled by a sun-oriented sail, the mission will inspect a space rock very close. The objective will be concluded after the day of kickoff. At the point when the shuttle arrives at a distance of about 62 miles to 75 miles, 100 to 120 kilometers, from the space rock, a camera called NICAM will catch pictures in superb 20-megapixel GOL for sending back to Earth. Well, that's it for today. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button. If you have any suggestions, leave them in the comments section. And if you enjoy our content, and never want to miss a video, hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching.